So let's talk about the power, the importance of disciplining your disappointments. Let's talk about disciplining your disappointments. This is a famous quote that I've heard many, many times. I've heard Tony Robbins talk about it, but I think the origin is from Jim Rohn, who's an amazing, incredible coach, personal development guru. And one of the things that has been just a resounding sort of grounding framework for me every time that I hit a wall, I hit a challenge, I hit an obstacle, or I fail. I just flat out fail on a project. I fail on a promotion. I fail on an offer. I fail on a client relationship. Failure is inevitable. It's part of the journey. It's part of growing as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. And I feel like such few people actually talk about failure. All we hear about on the internet is about everyone's successes, right? We see the highlight reel of their accomplishments. Oh my gosh, this person, hit 1 million YouTube subscribers, and look, they're becoming super popular and influential. This person is doing all the rounds of all the podcasts. They must be killing it. And so we see the upside, the extreme, the accolades, the glory, but we don't actually see all the work, the sweat, the tears, the failures, the rejection, the no's that person actually had to go through to achieve that success. And so every single time that I have a major disappointment in my business, or I feel like I have failed, I remember this quote by Jim Rohn: discipline your disappointments. Learn to navigate the emotions and the feelings that come as a result of failure. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about here today is why it's impossible to succeed without actually failing. If you can learn to fail forward, you're going to succeed, period, at some point. If you don't give up, if you keep moving forward, if you learn how to pick yourself back up and get out there and get back in the game, it's going to make such an incredible difference for accomplishing your purpose and your mission. And this season particularly, this has been a topic of conversation for our clients a lot. I don't know what it was about this last quarter, but so many of our clients are either in a personal crisis or have gone through a failure. It's kind of pretty 50-50. Some people are going through amazing wins and they're crushing it. And then other people are really experiencing major failures. And I've had to navigate all of our clients through this idea, this concept that it's okay to fail, that it's okay to not succeed, that you shouldn't even have the expectation that you're going to bat 1,000. No one does, right? And so having kind of this context and thinking through all the times that I failed personally in my life and how Chris and I collectively figured out ways, to get back up has been a process and a journey. And I would love to let me know in the comments if you would love me to do like a detailed episode for some of the examples of places and businesses and, promotions and offers that we have failed at. We're an open book. I'm happy to talk to you about that if it's helpful. But one of the things that I've been telling our coaching clients over and over and over again is, listen, we seem to have this like fallacy in our mind that all the people who are succeeding, they just bat, 1,000 and they never fail at anything and everything they do is perfect. And that's not true. And I feel like it's been really refreshing recently to see a lot of the online leaders talk about their failures. I remember by accident watching Ali Abdal's video on, he said he failed launching his keyboard as part of his new business. I think it's called Light Mode. And it's such an amazing, touching video because he's actually walking you through, all of the process. Like he released this amazing keyboard. He, didn't get the sales that he expected to get. He dumped, I think it was $300,000 into this business venture. And then a keyboard expert, which I follow because I'm into mechanical keyboards, and that's how I found the video, which is crazy, just ripped the keyboard to shreds. I mean, horrible review. And I so respect Ali because he specifically went and even clipped portions of that negative review and actually shared it with his audience and talked about his failures and responded to it, even talked to the guy and had him on his channel to talk about his recommendations. And it's really challenging to fail in public. And so one of the things that we need to learn as entrepreneurs and as online business owners is like, listen, if you don't learn how to fail in private, you're never going to have the privilege of succeeding in public. But know that every single level is a new level of expectation. If you think failing in private is hard, imagine how hard it is to fail in public. Ali has an amazing community. I think his channel is up to like 6 million subscribers at the time of this recording. He has a very successful business, a very lucrative business, but this project failed, right? Even though he has launched so many amazing things, this is a failure, at least in his book, at least right now. And so I think he showed some statistics where he's only been able to recoup like $26,000 of his $300,000 investment. So not only is he really in the hole, right? He did not get the orders he expected. Now he also has like a little bit of bad PR out there, which everyone is going to get at some point. So it's one of those things where I want to encourage you, because I notice this pattern when I'm coaching clients, and this is exactly what I went through too. But we have a failure, like a promotion doesn't work, or a client gives us really bad feedback, or someone bad mouths us on the internet, and immediately we start kind of, at least as women, and we do this a lot, where we start like really taking it very personal and really questioning, whether we're on the right path. Like, what are we even doing with our lives? We have thoughts like, oh my gosh, am I just going in the total wrong direction right now? Do I need to rethink my entire business? Do I need to rethink my identity? Do I need to rethink the way that I, show up in the world? And it's hard because criticism is hard. Rejection is hard. Failure is hard. There is no, getting around that. I was even telling one of our coaching clients, I was like, listen, the only way out is through. The only way out is through. I get the feelings. It's valid to have negative emotions. It's valid to feel sad, to feel frustrated, to feel angry, to feel resentful even, to be frustrated and disappointed. Feel the feelings, but do not unpack and live there. You have to learn how to get back up and try again. And if you allow the failure, if you allow the disappointment, if you allow all those negative feelings of rejection to completely be the thing that derails your progress and ultimately keeps you from achieving your mission, then the devil has won. One of my mentors, Jennifer Allwood, she says this beautiful thing. She says the devil does two very clever things. Number one, he distracts us. And number two, he discourages us. If he can get you distracted and not focus on the right things, and if he can discourage you into stopping, right, into halting your progress, into just abandoning the mission altogether, then he's won. Don't give him that privilege. Don't give them that, that joy to see you stop what you're doing because it didn't work the first time or the second time or the third time or the fourth time. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be a masochist and just keep trying the same thing over and over again until it works. You do need to take a step back when you have failure, reflect, think about your game plan, think about how you're going to shift things, think about what rooms you need to be in, who do you need to surround yourself with, who do you need to learn from, who do you need support from, right? Rethink your strategy and then go at it again. But do not let one failure, one disappointment, or a bunch of failures and a bunch of disappointment completely derail you from the calling that God has on your life. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to fail. In fact, I remember listening to Jim Rohn, and he was talking about how if you, bat even just like 1 out of 10. If you're batting, like your batting average is like 10%. If 10% of the time you're winning, you can make a living. If you bat 2 out of 10, right? So 20% of the time you're winning, 8 of those 10 attempts are total and epic failures. It's like you can make a lot of money. You will be in a really good position. You will win at life. But if you can bat 3 out of 10, right? That's 30% of the time you're winning, 70% of the time you're losing, which is what most of us do, right? If you get to 30%, you are going to be so wealthy. You're going to have more money than you know what to do with. You're going to really be an A player and win at life. And I thought, wow, That's a really good way of thinking about it. In fact, most of my mentors, most of the people that I follow and have learned from and have, sat at their feet and kind of learned from their strategy, I see them launch things and I see them talk about their failures behind closed doors, right? In group coaching programs and one-on-one coaching programs, and tell us about these wild stories where they tried a bunch of different things that just didn't work. And I see that exact same thing in my life, in my story. I remember one specific mentor told me, Kim, 8 out of every 10 Facebook ad campaigns that I launch epically fail, but the 2 that do well make me millions of dollars a year. And I was like, ooh, that's actually super helpful. See, that gives us context. It helps us have a benchmark that we can orient ourselves and really discipline our disappointments by understanding that the reality that all of us are walking through is we are going to experience more failure than we do success. And that's part of life. That's part of growing a business. That's part of learning. That's part of evolving as an entrepreneur and maturing and reaching that next level of success. In fact, I want to encourage you to think about failure as a major learning experience. I know it doesn't feel that way, especially when you're really in it. But if you really think about it, it's only a failure if you did not learn from it. I've heard that over and over again from mentors and coaches and people who've gone before me. And I feel like that's so true. Where's the learning experience here? What is the thing that you're going to glean from this disappointment, from this failure, from this painful season? The key is to get back up, to learn, to readjust your strategy, and get back in the game. I think Michael Jordan famously said, right, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So if failure is the thing that's going to prevent you from taking the next shot, that's a problem. Another one of my mentors said, listen, you get to pick your suck. And I love this concept. What sucks more? Does the pain of failure suck more? Or does the pain of regret 20 years from now that you didn't actually get back up and try something new suck more? For me, the second one sucks more. My greatest fear in life is being on my deathbed and realizing I wasted my life. I did not reach my fullest potential. I have regrets about how I could have, really answered the call that God had on my life in bigger and more meaningful ways. So for me, I'd rather push through that pain of failure. I'd rather get back up, as painful as it might be, as uncomfortable, as challenging, as just draining as it might be. I know that I am way more concerned about the fear, or not the fear, but the pain of regret that I am about the pain of failure. So I'd rather just walk through that pain, push through that pain, than stay stuck and regret it 30, 40 years down the line. Now, I want to leave you with this. There's 3 things that I do after I have a major disappointment or a failure in my life that have really, really helped me. I always tell our coaching clients, listen, guys, you don't get perfect at dealing with anything in business, right? It's not like you get to a certain point and you're so successful that you just win. There's never something you fail at. Like, that's not the case, right? In every level, you still experience a lot of the same things. You're going to experience disappointment. You might experience betrayal. You might experience failure. I'm pretty sure you will experience failure. And you just get better at dealing with all of that. And so I've gotten to a place in my career where it's easier for me to deal with failure now than it was 10 years ago. And it's probably going to be even easier 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because I've done it and gone through it over and over again. And I have some tools and some resources that help me get through the emotions, and the crazy chaos faster. So the first thing for me is I need to get my mind right. I need to get in prayer. I need to get in the word. I need to journal. I need to go on a walk. Those are like the 4 things that really help me gain perspective. Because if I just listen to my emotions are going to tell me, you need to stop this. This hurts. This is too hard. This is too complicated. There's way too much responsibility on your shoulders right now. You got to go in a different direction, girl. This is not working out, right? My emotions will lead me to quit. I know that every single time, that's where my head will go. So I have to get perspective. And the way that I get perspective is I ask for divine wisdom, divine understanding. Holy Spirit, help me understand where I went wrong. Holy Spirit, help me discern between an actual failure and just preparation for the next platform. Help me discern between what was my responsibility and under my control and what was pure just seasons that are difficult, markets that are difficult, external conditions that I could not control. Help me gain perspective. And then the second thing is I talk to my coach, right? But if you don't have a coach, I didn't have a coach at the beginning. I just went and I listened to great podcasts, great YouTube videos. I just shared Jim Rohn. He's one of my biggest personal development heroes. I love him. He's phenomenal. He's since passed, but a lot of his content is on YouTube. So I will go listen to a Jim Rohn talk. I will listen to a Tony Robbins. I'll listen to some of my mentors, some of the people that I admire from afar, and I'll gain perspective. You know, I talked about Ali in the beginning. I think Jasmine Star also had an amazing YouTube video about one of her failures in her launch this year. And just watching the realness, the rawness, the vulnerability, the fact that these are two strong leaders that will lead with strength, but then connect with vulnerability is amazing. Just to know, hey, I'm not the only one. There's other people who are going through this. In fact, most people are going through this. They just don't necessarily talk about it is really, really helpful. And then I give myself a pep talk. I think getting to a place where I can actually talk to myself about my failure. Sometimes I do this in front of the mirror and I'm just like, listen, I know this is hard. I know this sucks. I know you're hurting, baby girl, but this is where you actually get to meet who you really are. Okay. Nothing shows you who you really are, what your character is like, than failure, than rejection, than criticism, than pain. That's where you meet the real you. And so I will talk to myself in the mirror and be like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to sit down and feel sorry for yourself? Are you just going to cry and just give up? Like, go ahead, close the business, go ahead, close this program, go ahead, walk away. You have the option to do that right now, but you know what that means, right? You're not going to be in obedience. You're not going to reach the goals that you set out for yourself. And unfortunately, there's going to be repercussions for your future. And you're going to have to give account at some point to God about this decision. So are you doing this for yourself? Is this your ego talking? Or are you really thinking about your why? Are you serving in the highest level? Is this like the thing that God has called you to do? And so I know that sounds like, I'm a little rough on myself, but that's just because I'm a Puerto Rican. My parents raised me to be like, okay, just roll, a little bit of dust or not dust, rub some dirt on it is the American expression. Rub some dirt on it and keep going. And so that helps me. It helps me check myself to be like, yeah, I'm wallowing for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely falling into self-pity. Like, yeah, you're right. I probably need to just get myself together and keep moving. And then I'll be like, listen, you have a warrior inside of you. I know what the Holy Spirit has put in your heart. Like, you're all feminine and cute and you love all the girly things, but there is some savagery inside. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is some fire, and that fire is the thing that you need to tap into when you feel at your lowest, when you don't feel strong. This is me talking to myself, not talking to you, in case it's helpful. And that helps me to remember, okay, this is who I am. This is what God has called me to be. Like, I'm a warrior. I need to just tap into like my Braveheart era and just keep moving forward. That helps me a lot to just kind of shake it off and keep moving forward. And then I cultivate joy. And I do this in a variety of ways. For me, it's really making sure that I do something uplifting that takes care of my soul, that fills me up, because I still acknowledge my feelings and acknowledge that it's hard to go through, a failure, a disappointment, some kind of hurt. So I like spending time with my family, with my friends. I might go out and get a massage. I might go watch a movie with Chris. I might cuddle up with my baby dogs on the couch. Whatever it is, maybe I'll do like one of my hobbies, get outside, do something fun. I do something for myself, something that helps me heal, something that helps me move forward, whether it's a small failure or a really, really big one. And again, this might take you days, it might take you weeks, it might take you over a year, depending on how big of a failure this is. But the point here is not to necessarily like judge yourself, but to have tools, to have a strategy, to know how to deal with disappointment and how to discipline your disappointments so that they don't become the obstacle that actually holds you back from achieving the mission. So listen, I hope this episode was helpful. I hope that you got inspired. If you did, would you send it to a friend? Would you send it to somebody who maybe is struggling with the disappointments of failure, with the pain of going through a tough season? I would hope that this episode encourages them, that it gives them a lot to think about, some tools and some resources, so that together we can continue walking in the calling that God has given each and every one of us. All right, I love you. I'll see you in the next episode. Un beso. Bye for now.